What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Thursday, March 7th, and you know exactly what that means. We will be breaking down AEW Dynamite as well as Throwback Thursday. We've got a wicked throwback topic for you today, a timely one at that. I'm excited. We're fully on the road to Mania. Dynamite's got a new stage. We've got all kinds of new stuff. One thing that's not new, though, is I've got the usual crew hanging and riding with me on this Thursday. First, I'm going to send this out to Philadelphia, our head of opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. How are you doing this Thursday afternoon? For me, I guess it's evening over in Philly for you, but how's it going?
Doing all right. Not too bad. Exciting weekend last weekend with Sting's retirement. We had Dynamite last night. This weekend, I get to watch my team that I actually bought. Officially, I got the paperwork this week. I get to watch them this weekend. And Clark, I'm surprised you didn't go to the easy layup of talking about the throwback topic being extreme. But, throw it to me, and that makes the most sense because it is Philly-based. So
yeah,
let's do it.
I was thinking geography. I figured if we're going to get extreme, you would help us get extreme. Speaking of extreme, over here, Tink2254_54 with what's up, bro? How are you, Tink? Thank you for joining in. As always, man, you've been on a bunch of shows of late, and we appreciate the support so much. Coach 23 also added, what up, fellas, and Ricky Stanicky, which is, he's funny. That is funny. But also, before we get started, we've got another usual co-host riding with us all the way out in the DMV, repping Crisp Imaging today. Shout out Cardi Crisp and Cardi Cornett, but it's neither of those two. It's the Tuesday night delight. Get the twos up, Shotty. How are you?
Hi, my name is Shad Huda. I was going to do my impersonation of Heyman, but what's good with y'all, man? I'm good over here on this side of the world. The people's champ always over here. I see the YouTube comment. How do I feel about Bianca Belair? I was going to say this in my intro, so I'm going to get it out the way. Support women's wrestling. Let's stop being weird. Let's stop being ugly towards people, no matter who they are, ethnicity, beliefs, gender, all of that. Let's get that out the window. Bianca Belair is the EST. She is literally, no jokes aside, my favorite women's wrestler of all time and one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. We love you, Bianca, at the Wrestling Republic. Let's get into this show.
No question, Shad, and I couldn't be more in agreement with you. This is all silly. What a weird week. Bianca Belair, even our very own Ben Allison, got over something that he said.
And Allison is
I agreed
GOAT.
with and made sense on yesterday's show, which is that the women's division deserved more time on Revolution, despite the pay-per-view being outstanding. It was. That two things can be true at once. That's an absolute fact. And if you feel like that and your whole thing is you want to go online to complain about women's wrestling, do it elsewhere. Shut up. It's ridiculous. It's a silly stance to take, and it makes absolutely no sense in the world. Shout out both Bianca Belair and Ben. We got the triple Bs in the building for sure. Let's get into today's show, though. Let's have a little bit more fun than that. Oh, not that I didn't get all fired up, but let's start with the Young Bucks, and what a debut it was. Kazuchika Okada is all elite. Not only that, this dude is aligned with a couple of guys.
Just Matthew and Nicholas.
Friends with. They have crossed paths, rubbed shoulders, done a number of things in this regard. but I didn't anticipate an early alliance. Now, obviously, sorry, that was a complete pun intended because we're talking about Paul Heyman later. That was a dangerous alliance joke that definitely fell flat because neither Anthony or Shad laughed. But Anthony, I've got to ask you about this promo and this debut. It's huge, and we might have them in back-to-back weeks. How do you feel about it? And are we setting up for Okada Kenny?
I thought when you said alliance, I thought you meant the ill-fated WCW ECW alliance.
Well, that's Paul too.
Yeah, I know. That's where I thought you were going with it. I didn't pick up the Dangerous Alliance. Here's the thing: the Bucks promo as a whole, I've said on this show, I am not a big fan of this version of the Bucks. To me, it comes off as bad acting and cringy. I can't connect to it. I don't know why. But Okada going with them is certainly a turn that I didn't see coming. Like, I thought, okay, Okada was probably going to AEW. I think that's where all the rumors were. It was the most logical since their ties to New Japan. It probably made the most sense. Presumably you would think they would have put him in a position, maybe challenging Joe right off the bat, because he is the most prestigious New Japan champion in the past, I don't know how many years. But I think it was a smart move to put him with people that could be a mouthpiece for him, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he doesn't speak fluent English. Like, I think he speaks some, but he's not fluent. So I think it is a smart move to put him with mouthpieces, at least in the beginning, while he gets comfortable in the American audience. Okada he's in a weird situation, because this happens with a lot of talents that come over from Japan. Are you a big fish in a small pond, or are you a global star? I've never been huge with Okada, but I think he definitely has a tremendous amount of talent, and if booked right, he could do really well there. We saw Jay White. The booking's not been great. The booking for Ospreay so far in the beginning seems to be going the right direction. Yes. I'm hoping the same for Okada. But it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. Honestly, I think this leads to, just based on the Bucks promo, presumably Hangman and Kenny will team up against the Bucks. Whether that is at all in, or the other option they could do if they drag this thing out is do 6-man tag Okada with the Bucks against Hangman, Kenny, and I would presume Jericho, because he was tied to Kenny and he tends to stick himself in any of these situations. I think that's where this is probably headed, all in, with the either tag or 6-man. That's where I'm thinking it's going ultimately.
I like that. I completely understand too, and I agree with you on the. They've done an excellent job with Ospreay so far, and we were a little critical at first, but they really have. We've got a ton of comments though that I want to read all of these. We got Wasif, Syed 8. Shoddy's the GOAT. I couldn't agree more. He is
my boy.
No doubt. We've also got Deepak _M555 said, "Hi, please speak my name." I got you, man. Of course. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Tink22 _54 says, Tony backed up the Wells Fargo money truck to Okada's front door. Yes, he did. Tink22 _. Okada. I'm no expert, but I've followed the New Japan for years. Sorry, did I cut out there for a second? Are we having a little audio issue here?
Yeah.
Okay, I completely understand. I'll get that fixed in just any second. I actually know what it is. But everybody, we're good now. Where did I cut off?
Just keep going. We heard your whole sentence.
Perfect.
Keep going.
Perfect. We'll run through some more comments here. I'll toss it to you, Shad. Then I'll fix this audio issue really quickly. Let's go over to the YouTube comments, because we've got the deuces were up from Coach 23. My mom as well, throwing up the deuces. Shout out Lori Taylor, Markowitz too. Coach 23. We are here for Big Little Ben. Love you, buddy. No doubt. My mom added the goat emojis. I believe that one's for Ben too, Shoddy. So we got two goats today that we've been discussing. And then we've also got Josh Markowitz in the comment with just make your own social media platform if you want to hate on women's wrestling because no one wants to hear it on Twitter, IG, etc. Well played, Josh. You're the man. And thank you so much for
Facts.
the last couple of shows. Okay. Let's stay on this subject, though. The Okada debut. I got to get your thoughts, Shoddy, too. I'm going to cut it to you real quick, and I'll also fix this audio issue. I'm sorry about
Yeah,
that.
nah, go ahead and handle what you gotta do, Mr. IT man. Um, man, oh man, oh man. Okada's debut yesterday was definitely something that how it occurred was a bit of a surprise, something that was a little unexpected. I think a lot of people were expecting that he would, debut on AEW within this week, next week, whatever it may be. No, a lot of rumblings was maybe they would have kind of done the double debut, kind of how they do uh with him and possibly Mercedes next week. But they had him debut last night and I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's a bit of a swerve on how he would come through, aligning him as a heel, putting him with the how I like to call them the corporate bucks. I think it's a good mesh within his character and having those two as his talking pieces and having him as the ace of the new elite steady going prior to that. I love the promo that the Bucks initially cut. Um, clearing out the elite, getting rid of Kenny Omega, saying that he's not been there, even though we know that he's been injured, and then suspending Hangman from the elite, not from all elite, but from the elite. Um, thought it was a funny touch to it. Kingston coming in, and Kingston being the initial feud for Okada. I think it's interesting. I think it's one that is a good first opponent for Okada. Eddie is a fan favorite. Eddie is someone who makes every storyline feel real. Eddie going against the system feels like something that we can all get with, right? Going against the EVPs and going against the ace. And then Eddie's got the ability to compete with these guys that wrestle that style out in Japan. So I think all in all, it's something that I'm excited for. I'm hoping this is going to be one of the matches built for the Dynasty card that we got in April. And yeah, man, it seemed like it was a big deal. I know that um, we've kind of been fantasy booking within ourselves as fans of where he may go. But I think AEW is the right spot. I think AEW has done a good job in the free agent pool these last couple months. Um, I'm a big proponent of, let's not hoard a roster, but let's get the best talent that you can get. And a Will Osprey, I said it a couple weeks ago or last week that I think bell for bell, he's the best wrestler in the planet. Uh, Getting Okada, he's one of the best uh international superstars in the world as well, right? Especially when you lean towards this New Japan style of fan bases that do tune in to AEW with the relation with each other. They're gonna have a reason to want to watch AEW. Potentially getting Mercedes next week. They're doing great things. And last night, that whole build to it had me very optimistic about the direction that AEW is gonna go for forefront. I think they did a good job with that whole storyline and I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it. This is what I've been missing. I need them to have their identity. This is something that is tied to their identity. So good for them.
I think so, too. And we got an awesome comment over here on Instagram from Tink22_54, which is who do y'all think will be the other elite member? I'm just going to come out right out and say it. Sasha Banks, first female elite member. Why not? Why not? Mercedes Monet. Monet in the elite fits the aesthetic. Talk to me. I'm all about that.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. I don't know. I don't mind that.
That's a scary
But
crew.
you know what happens, right? And y'all might kill me in the comments about it. Mercedes is way more significant than all three of them as
She
a
is.
star. She becomes the most important person in the room when all four of them stand in there. And that may not be a bad thing, right? That may not be a bad thing, but it's a standpoint of like, I feel like it makes more sense to have an Okada because to Anthony's point, he's not, you know, English isn't his first language, right? So
Right.
they can kind of talk for him. Mercedes can talk. She can talk for herself. But having a boss no pun intended, would not hurt the elite.
I think the key to the whole operation, this being the case, is that Mercedes is the first female member, but her success, it hinges on that. So it is a risk. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, you have Mercedes Moné at the helm with the elite, who've never had a female member. Now we're in territory storytelling wise where we can talk about taking over the company, domination, all kinds of things like that. You can be serious heels with a crew like that. And it, to your point, with Okada and the promo stuff, takes the pressure off of that. Because now you have two proven mouthpieces in the Bucks and one of the best ever in Monet to do some of that heavy lifting when necessary. I'm all for it. Anthony, any opinion on that one? Do you think yes, no, maybe so?
I'm not a big Monet fan, but I don't.
Whoa!
I said this before. I'm not.
We've had this convo.
I thought we've had this conversation.
I'm just saying, it's always just a shocking revelation.
It's all good.
I feel shocked. I'm kidding.
How shocked can you be when I've said it before?
Right, that was a dodgeball quote. This is shocking. I feel shocked.
You can dodge a ball.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on though to our next topic. Let's Dynamite. And I love that we're talking about two promos out of the gates on this show. We've got Swerve, we've got Joe, and we've got the Kingdom. Swerve's got Dr. Britt's number. Got me so good. That cracked me up. He's got the good doctor self.
I love Swerve, but Cole, you better fight that man. Protect your house, buddy.
Yeah, he's got to be careful. There's no doubt about it at this point. Anthony, I got to ask you about the opening promo and everything. Weird to see Swerve and Joe on the same team, though, for me. That's where I had an issue.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where, making your Ring of Honor tag champs lose in, 7 minutes or some insanely short amount of time continues the problem that Tony Khan seems to have with Ring of Honor. He bought it, but they're the redheaded stepchild that just loses. Like they don't get booked like a real promotion. They're booked as the secondary, the developmental, essentially. Bennett and Taven are a lot better than what they're being showcased. And that's not a disrespect to Swerve, but your tag champ shouldn't be losing like that. But quite frankly, the Undisputed Kingdom is a joke. And the funny part was when they originally debuted, everyone was comparing them to Retribution. And we all know Retribution turned out to be a complete disaster and a dud. That's the same thing with the Undisputed Kingdom. Very cool logo, but the group really does nothing. And it's very awkward. I get it. Adam Cole's injured. I get it. But the fact that you had Wardlow deliver 2 promos of saying, I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired. He's standing there just standing there while Adam Cole's like, he's going to win the belt and give it to me. And he's not saying anything. I don't think that helped anybody. But as far as Swerve and Joe, I'm all in on that. I wanted Swerve versus Joe more than I wanted the 3-way at Revolution, like I said. But I understood why they did the 3-way, because they didn't want to give Swerve the belt now, so they got Hangman in there to take the fall, which made sense. It protects Swerve. Whether or not they're paying attention to rankings anymore, I doubt it. It makes sense that Swerve would go after Joe. It all makes sense. And Swerve continues to deliver on the mic. He should be the heir apparent for this. I just don't know when they're going to give it to him, whether it's at Dynasty or whether they drag it out the Forbidden Door. I don't know when they're going to drag it out to, but he is a future world champion there. He should be.
I could not agree more. I think Forbidden Door in Arthur Ashe Stadium would mean the world. I made that connection on last week's show when we were talking about it, right? What Arthur Ashe did for tennis, and to have your first African-American AEW champion win in Arthur Ashe Stadium, I think it's smart, and it's just an incredibly cool moment. It's an important moment too, I think, for the company. And not only that, on top of it, Swerve has above and beyond earned it.
Where's Dynasty?
An opponent like Samoa Joe is ideal. I'm all for it. We've got a bunch of comments here. Coach 23 added it was a random match for the sake of having a random match. I kind of agree with that, although not random that we've got Swerve and Joe on the same team. Hey, Anthony Spidey, show some respect to T-Bar. LOL, that one's hilarious. And then Joe Swerve could still happen at Double or Nothing, but much better at Arthur Ashe. I agree. That's at least where I stand on this one. Let's move in to a quick. We've already given the announcement, but if you like Ben Allison in the past, it's worth replaying because our friends at Next Level have dialed in almost the ultimate, pretty much the ultimate WrestleMania experience. And if you sign up, you can win 2 tickets. Mania, night after Mania, limo, hotel. Don't listen to me. Listen to Ben really quick.
Hi, I'm Ben Allison from Wrestling Republic, but today you can call me Tony Khan because I have an important announcement for you, and that announcement is that we are teaming up with our great friends over at Next Level, the Next Level app, to give away 2 WrestleMania tickets for night 2 of WrestleMania and the Raw after WrestleMania. This giveaway is huge, and let me run you guys through it. You can win 2 tickets to night 2 of WrestleMania 40, in addition to 2 tickets for Raw after WrestleMania the night after. You'll also get a hotel between April 7th and 9th, and this will be at the Wyndham Philadelphia Historic District. You'll also have a round-trip shuttle from hotel to Lincoln Financial Field for the WrestleMania show. You'll have exclusive pre-show tailgate with superstar appearances, a dedicated stadium entrance, Superstore Express Lane, and a WWE credential / lanyard. This giveaway is huge, and not only that, it is also completely free for you guys, and you guys can, enter with 3 very simple steps. Step 1, you need to use our Connect link. You need to go to nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic. And you can see all our content, all our links in one place here. But the link that you guys want to get is right at the bottom. And that will be a link to the WrestleMania giveaway. You click there, you register there, then you go into step 2. Step 2 is even simpler. You download the Next Level app, and how you spell it is NXLVL on the App Store, on the Google Play Store, any of those types of stores, and you download the app and you create an account. Easy. We all know how to do it. And then step 3 is you take a picture or video of yourself wearing your favorite wrestler's merchandise or whatever wrestling merchandise that you have, and you put the hashtag as the caption and comment it as well, saying Next Level WrestleMania. That's hashtag NXLVL WrestleMania, all one word, and then you are entered. It's as simple as that. 3 simple steps, and it helps us out too. It helps out Next Level. So please enter and please join the thriving wrestling community on there. I can't wait to see you all enter.
Do it. What are you thinking? And write the steps down. We've got a few more comments here. Dynasty is in St. Louis. Coach 23 added, also Tink 54 added that as well. St. Louis, heck of a town, great wrestling town, tons of history, would make a ton of sense as well. We've also got
Nelly.
Whoa, what a good Nelly. Shout out Nelly, band-aids on the face. That would be an iconic look for Swerve in that match if we're going to do it in St. Louis.
Awesome.
We've got
it.
Whoa, what a good package from David Modge. Shout out David Modge, absolutely. We already know you've entered. Unfortunately, we have no play in who actually does win, but somebody will win. And then Tink 22 _ 54 actually love this. Thank you so much. Added 10,600 seating capacity in St. Louis. That's a good sized arena. That's a really good pro wrestling crowd. I like that a lot. I really do. Now, let's move on though to our next subject. Let's talk about Statlander and Rio. Something that we discussed yesterday on the show. It's we know if you watch this often that the Tuesday Night Delight is a big Rio fan. And so I've got to immediately ask you about this one, Shad. What's up with Statlander and Rio last night?
Y'all keep underestimating the GOAT that is Rio, our inaugural AEW Women's Champion. She is on go time at all times when she steps in the ring. I love her pacing. I love her move set. Like Rio is one of my personal favorite wrestlers on AEW. I think she is phenomenal at what she does. I don't even know what Rio sounds like, and I absolutely am a super fan of her. So salute to that woman. She did her thing. Her and Statlander had a very very good television match, and it goes to my point that I've been beating the drum for is that you can have compelling storylines for any show, more so for the main roster in AEW, um, without it circulating the title. This was a compelling match. I felt the story within the match. The pacing was great. Statlander going through her emotions is a super powerhouse, but having a tough time with the fast, agile Rio, with the in-ring ability that Rio has, and the storyline of her, trying to get pulled to the dark side as Stokely is trying to get into in a way, right? Let's work smarter, not harder. He says, trying to give her the chains and not using the chains, deciding to fight honorably, and ultimately being the reason that she lost. Um, I think the big picture is that we are eventually going to get a Chris Statlander heel turn. And this is something that I've been saying for a while. Statlander is a phenomenal wrestler. I think aesthetically she looks amazing. She looks really cool. The hair, the face paint, the tats, everything super brolic, all of that. But there's something missing, and it may not even be something missing. I think her as a baby face has kind of got a little stale. I love the idea of turning her heel, and I love the idea of pairing her with Stokely. We know after the match, Willow has challenged Rio. I think Willow is going to beat Rio. I think we are going to get a feud between Willow and Chris Statlander, and I think Stokely is going to align with Stat, and it's going to be something special. Two powerhouses. I'm super excited for it. This is a step in the right direction for the women's division because they got a lot of talent. You just got to give these women time. So salute to both ladies. I thought it was a
Yes,
stellar match. I think it was one of the best women's matches I've seen all week too, if not the best women's match I've seen all week. So yeah,
I think it was too. I really enjoyed the match, and I totally agree on the heel turn. I think, and even Tink 2254 added that yes, heel turn, yes. Um, I think the key is Statlander turns, not Willow, and and leaves Willow in the dust too.
yeah,
I think that's how we get there. Is tell that story on top of this. I think that that's the most direct route to greatness, because I mentioned on yesterday's show, Willow Nightingale is already the perfect, most lovable babyface. If you don't like Willow Nightingale, you should probably look in the mirror because you probably don't like yourself either.
something wrong with you.
Like
I
it's
I
yeah,
said
you're having a
I've said
tough
it.
you're
I
having
said
a
it
tough
before.
day.
I said it before. I think she is like she can be AEW's Bianca Belair, the baby face that everyone loves. Does everything right. The personality is contagious, powerhouse. Just like she's gonna have the women's. She's gonna be the TBS champ at some point this year, and we're gonna explode like of happiness and joy,
Yes,
and we're gonna do the dance and go crazy for a theme song, and I'm a freestyle over it on off the air probably. We'll do
can't wait.
that.
Cannot wait. In the words of the great Bart Scott, can't wait. Let's though move on really quickly. Let's let's talk about the Hookster. Cause if you know me, Clark Taylor, that not only do I eat my chips and take my vitamins, but I am the number one hookamaniac on this planet. The dude held on to the red rum, the rear naked choke, through the thumbtacks like it's no big deal. I love it. I know how talented Brian Cage is, and I want more for Brian Cage. But I can't hate on what happened last night. The Hookster was running wild. Hookamaniacs across the world celebrate. It was outstanding. Anthony, I got to ask you your thoughts on the match.
Okay, first off, the lag with you was tremendous because you froze and then you saw the video catch up. But besides that,
perfect.
You know, I've said before, Hook needs the right opponent to really accentuate his unique style. Brian Cage was perfect for him last night. And I think Brian Cage is one of those performers that people underestimate how good he is. Like, we don't see him for a while, and then you see him and you go, wait, that's right, he is really good at this. I thought it was a really well put together match. Brian, even in defeat, helped get Hook more over. Like, it was a strong competitive match. The finish was absolutely perfect because if you want to establish Hook as that tough street kid that can fight through and defy the odds of beating somebody bigger than him, this was the right play. Putting in his submission hold and keeping it in while he's literally laying on tacks, establish some toughness there. I mean, he's the son of Taz, so, there should be an expectation that he's tough. But Hook doesn't have the physique that Taz had. Taz was, it's apples and oranges. But, I thought this was a really well put together match. And, this type of style from Hook and the type of opponent like Brian Cage, I would like to see both of them be used more on TV on a more regular basis. And, Brian Cage actually pick up some wins.
I hear you on that with Brian Cage, but as a Hookamaniac, the leader of the Hookamaniacs, I would arguably say, I mean, I've been way up to my chips consumption, if you can't tell by my chin, over the last 6 months. So I am an absolute Hookamaniac through and through in every way. Love to see it. Don't mind it in the least. He's just going to be great, guys. Give him time to develop. We're looking at a rookie still. Now I get not literally a rookie. He's been around for a bit now, but we are looking at a rookie.
Year
We're
3.
looking at a young guy. We're looking at a young guy. Give him time. Give him time.
They still call AEW a new company. It's going on year 5, but it's the same thing.
Hey, by the way, year 5 is new in relation to year 45 with the WWE's in.
I'm just saying,
45.
Saying they're a rookie is not
Look
exactly
what you've done now, Anthony. You just made me do math. Goodness gracious.
So clock the 0 again?
I'll get to the whiteboard later.
You got to get the internet fixed.
Yeah, it's 0 days since I've done math officially. Yeah. But Shad, I do also have to ask you. So Darby Allin, tag team champion, one half of the tag team champions, got to cut a promo this week. I love that we're talking about this many promos on an AEW show when we've complained often for the last year about a lack of promos and too much wrestling time. It just kind of cracks me up.
As long as the promo is good, I'm fine with it.
Exactly. No, but I mean, they're right. Some of the highlights of last night were the promos. They did a great job with it. Darby talked. He explained everything. We've got the tournament we all anticipated. Shad, your thoughts?
Yeah. So I thought the promo exchange between him and Jay White going back and forth was really, really good. This is where I want to see Jay White on the card. This is where I want to see Jay White just booked, presumably on our weekly television screens. He is a good heel, and I think him and Darby going in exchange. Darby, cutting his promo, talking about the journey that he's got coming up, right? The relationship that he's had with Sting and him, finding a new footing, him going to Mount Everest, which I still am very a little weary about. I think you should reconsider that, Darby, because
It is
it's,
cold.
it's super cold, and that's a little bit more dangerous than that table spot that you did.
Mostly snows.
Just saying. But I liked it, and man, Darby is a guy that I think deserves a little bit more praise than he gets, because a lot of people look at him as just Mr. Spot Food doing the crazy stuff, comparing him to prime Jeff Hardy, but he's a really good like character, and he's a guy who is a misfit, and speaks from his heart. He speaks from his heart when he cuts his promos. And he was speaking from his heart talking to Jay White yesterday. Jay White, telling him all that he feels about him, clowning him and all that. And him basically saying, like, look, man, you were that guy everywhere, but you're not that guy here. You've done nothing here. And, you know, the truth hurts. Obviously, it's not Jay White's fault because he don't book what he does, but in the respect of manner of what's happening in AEW and what's happening on our weekly shows, he's right. It has me excited for next week because Ben has mentioned it before and others have mentioned it before. The build to these matches, build to these feuds is the only thing missing with AEW. Matches tend to always deliver most of the time on AEW, especially on pay-per-views. That the in-ring ability is never the issue, but what can take it to the next level? It doesn't need to be a super long storyline. TK announcing it on Sunday, them having the promo exchange and getting us hyped for it, and then having a match next week. That's cool. That's a cool little feud that we can go into. Um, I'm curious to see how that's going to go next week, and I'm curious to see what the direction for Darby is going to be going on. Now that he doesn't have Sting, I think he's a person that has done so much for AEW. As a fan favorite, has been one of the pillars, but nobody ever considers and sees him as a guy that should be a potential AEW champion. And I would like to see Darby, you know, maybe take some time off. Maybe he gets hurt next week, write him off for a little bit. But when he comes back, let's make Darby not be the fall guy. Let's have a story of him kind of fighting his way up to the ladder and potentially becoming a champ down the road. I think he's well deserving of it. He's a guy who, it doesn't come with surprise that a Punk wants to go against him out the gate when he debuted there. A Sting wants to align himself with him. The kid has got something to him. We just got to see him booked differently. So I'm excited to see what happens.
No question about it, Shad. And we've got a bunch of comments over here on Instagram. Dark Beast, I'm sorry, Dark King Beast _21 said Darby through the glass was absolutely crazy, and then he added Darby versus Jay is going to be a great match. I totally agree. I love what you said about Darby winning the title. I think it's totally possible. Not only possible, I think it's probable. I think the key with Darby Allin here is he's a huge star, and he's shown nothing but loyalty. I found nothing but irony in the glass spot we saw in the last match. CM Punk has been brought up around stuff like that for a while here. Saw nothing but irony because CM Punk handpicked Darby for that return match.
Yep.
That was important.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
That was a big deal in Chicago. Handpicked him. Darby picked his team, and there's something to be respected about that. I think without a doubt from Darby Allin, it's impressive to me. Guts to be that guy too. I would say the same about out of MJF, unless we do see him turn up maybe in Philadelphia or something like that.
Darby's definitely, the second. I mean, it's really just MJF and Darby as those guys out of those four pillars. The other two,
Right.
obviously, Sammy is a person that is unfortunate because it seems like he's always on the negative spectrum to stuff that's outside of wrestling or in wrestling that isn't good locker room stuff. And then Jack Perry is more or less the same thing too, right?
The
So
black sheep, if you will.
yeah, I think
Scapegoat he's going with.
MJF is definitely the superstar out of all of them, but like Darby is like kind of the unsung hero in a way out of the four, you know?
Darby's the riskiest one of them because Darby does stuff that could shorten his career easily. That Darby's the biggest risk to get
me,
behind for that company.
Darby Allin is like Kurt Cobain in the 90s.
Like that didn't end well for Kurt.
That's not
it didn't, except we remember it. It's not fair to Darby, but at the same time, it's like he was still the best in the game. You understood the risks for a time, and it is what it is. And if he doesn't care, that's his prerogative as an artist. And I think that's something that now I'm not trying to compare him to the end of Kurt Cobain. That's not fair in any way. That's not what I'm saying there. But just you understand what you're getting.
He's got that 90s grunge feel to him. Though.
Listen,
yes, he is who he is.
I understand that logic, but also from the perspective as the owner of a company that you're putting your resources behind somebody, you got to question your logic of putting something fully behind somebody that's as dangerously risky to invest time and money in, because if something happens to him, all eyes are on you and your company.
I totally hear where you're coming from, but at the same time, I would also say you got to put the money behind Nirvana. You had to pay Cam Newton, even if it's a short time. When you're at the height of the industry and you're pushing the limits, yes, it's something that is looked at, right? You're doing things differently than everyone else. It's something to be looked at for sure. But even if it is a short time, we understand the risks. As long as Darby does too, that's on him as much as it is anything else. And I know that we've got the lagging issue. I apologize, everybody.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about it right here, but we'll get through the end of the show. Let's talk about.
Spit through that like amazing. It was like the Chipmunks. It was awesome.
Let's talk about Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher.
Yes.
Well, the interesting part is, based on StreamYard, you should actually see it better.
Anyway, do you want me to start
wise on YouTube or Instagram?
Yo,
Feel free to comment if it's struggling you. But if you're watching live, you should at least get the audio better, because that's one of the benefits of StreamYard. Shout out StreamYard. Maybe sponsor us there in the future. We'll make that happen someday. But let's talk about Will Ospreay. We've already brought up Will Ospreay earlier in the show against Kyle Fletcher, his former Aussie Open Undisputed Empire teammate, stablemate.
United Kingdom.
High quality wrestling match. United Empire though was
my bad. Empire.
Yeah, United Empire. I'm like United Kingdom. That's like an island, I think. But then we've got Ospreay against Kyle Fletcher. Yeah, didn't we have like a whole war? I'm sorry. We've got all Americans on this podcast. Now it's just a jab at Ben Allison. Love you, Ben. But we've got the Ospreay versus Fletcher match last night. Fletcher has come up under Ospreay's tutelage in many ways, with the United Empire connection. I thought this was an outstandingly wrestled match. I think Ospreay's been booked great. It is interesting. He's wrestling all his old buddies out of the gates, because I think part of going to AEW is having these sort of dream matchups that you wouldn't expect. We're going to get there. Last night's match was outstanding. Bell to bell, what more could you ask for? Anthony, I got to ask you, we're going to get Ospreay against Okada on a pay-per-view from the United States of America this year, potentially too? Because I mentioned Kenny Omega, but we don't know his medical situation. We do know Ospreay's. Is that something that is in the cards this year?
I think it's a possibility. Personally, and I've said this before on the show, I've said it off air, I think Ospreay is the best in-ring performer in this business right now. He is the Shawn Michaels of this generation. He can't have a bad match. Any match he's in with the ring with, whoever he's in the ring with, he can make it a phenomenal match. He could wrestle a broom. Kyle Fletcher's a great talent. He ain't Ospreay. It was an absolute amazing match last night because Ospreay is the best in the world. There's nobody that he can't wrestle and have a great match with. Can he wrestle Okada again? Yeah. Personally, I'd much rather see him against Danielson, which was teased. That's a dream match for me. Him against Swerve, that's a dream match for me. him against Hangman somewhere down the road. There are a number of people in
Oh,
AEW
that's a great list.
that are absolute dream matches with him. I'd rather not see him against Okada again because we've seen it a few times already, and we've seen it in long matches. So quite frankly, I'd rather see something new. There are definitely more people on that list that I would want to see him wrestle well before Okada again, personally.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Shot, I got to ask you about it too. Osprey, Danielson now. Let's add that to the equation. Let me read a couple comments first, actually. We've got Osprey should tone it down a bit from Coach 23. That one is wild.
No,
Team 2254 added that he has to go also over on Instagram. Thank you for tuning in always, bro. No worries. Get to what you're doing. But Osprey should tone it down a bit if he's doing this on a semi-weekly basis. He also added for the reasons that some fans are so fickle, especially if the wrestlers can't show anymore. Yep. And then he also added Osprey is one of the rare that is a move guy, but still able to tell a great in-ring story. It's the combo of it. Two things can be true at once, right? There's something to being a move guy, like you said, a spot guy, basically, right? And having the psychology. Isn't that the perfect combo? I mean, that's kind of what we're looking for, right?
There's a reason why Osprey and Ricochet were tied together because of that New Japan match, and why their careers went different directions. Because Osprey was able to evolve as a performer and not just be a spot guy. He's able to do stuff and knows when to do it, which was what Shawn Michaels and AJ Styles were able to do.
True.
Guys like Ricochet, I love Ricochet, but he didn't evolve as a performer. Yeah. That's why Osprey's so good.
So I gotta now ask you, Shotty, because Anthony gave a great list of basically 3 opponents here, and that's kind of where we're at. Give me just 3 potential opponents for Osprey over the rest of this year in AEW.
All right. For me, before I get to that, I just want to say this about the match. I thought last night's match was phenomenal. And to Coach 23's point, I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I do think his schedule is going to be lighter now that he's in AEW. You eliminate him having to do as many indie shows or other promotions. His full focus will presumably be for AEW, and that's working 1 or 2, like that's maybe like 3 times a month at most, probably 2, where he's actually going to be wrestling. And he's having fun, so I'm gonna be excited for him. I thought him and Kyle Fletcher wrestled yesterday because they had a point to prove, because they are brothers, obviously not blood brothers, but they are 2 great friends. They had history living with each other. They came up together and they put on a show. Kyle Fletcher, salute to you, brother. You did your thing. Phenomenal match. In regards to 3 dream matches for me, uh, obviously we alluded to one yesterday with Danielson, but I won't name that. Um, Swerve Strickland, I think they've had history prior to it. There's a funny little part to it that I hope they don't do this time. But I think this rendition of Swerve, for what he does, how serious and how much of a killer he is, to this more improved version of Osprey, more built, more sound as a performer, and the storytelling that both of them can say, maybe a potential AW World Championship match down the road. A lot of people saying that All In. Sign me up for that. That is one that I am totally here for. Claudio Castagnoli. I think those 2 can tear the roof down. That's one match that I don't know if they wrestled before or not. Don't shoot the messenger, but I
don't believe so, Shad. I don't think they have.
Yeah. Well, Claudio obviously has been in WWE for a while as Cesaro, and that's kind of when Osprey was picking up steam. Them being able to wrestle, I feel like both of them are phenomenal workers. Their styles would mesh, and they would have a super duper fun match. The third person, man, if I had to think off the top of my head, there's some good ones in the comments too. I gotta say that. But
Yes.
man, my man Daniel Garcia, bro. I think Danny is someone who's really I rave about a lot, but I think he's a guy that can work his tail off, and I feel like that will bring a different pace for Osprey. That's the thing I like about Osprey. He showed it with the Jericho match. Like we talk about the fast pace, hitting a whole bunch of moves in the span of a minute, but he's
Right.
so good and he's a chameleon. He can blend and work with different people. So someone like Daniel Garcia, God, there's a long list of people that I can name. AW's got a lot of workhorses on their roster, man. So it's gonna be a fun ride. I think him and Danielson coming up next is gonna be one of them ones. Malachi Black is a great uh note too by Coach 23. That's
Yes.
one I would love to see. I mean, there's a lot of people, man. Like I'm excited for him to, you know, kick the ties and get rolling down this road on AEW. I think that's the most money signing that TK has had in a while because you got a guy who's, you know, a big international deal, an incredible worker, but he's in the prime age. So that's like signing. I don't know. That's like when the
Yeah.
Saints signed Drew Brees, right? You got him
Yep.
when the wheels start turning and clicking for him, and then you got your franchise QB to help you win the Super Bowl and all that. This could be that for AEW if we put it in football terms.
No doubt about it. I love the comparison. We've also got over on Instagram CPod Laskowski, or it's CP Ode Laskowski. W take from Anthony, spot on. Of course, Anthony's always eating W's. He's basically the Jameis Winston of Wrestling Republic these days.
Thank you.
And we're gonna add also Dark King Beast _21 added Sammy, Brian, and Swerve, and then Samoa Joe, Penta, Phoenix, and Murphy, which I love how we went from 3 to 9 so quickly on the list because I love it.
Like
Dude, we could have this conversation for the next 2 hours. It's as fun as anything. Yeah. Coach 23 added he misses NXT. Ricochet, he added Swerve, Bryan Danielson, and Malachi Black. And then Samoa Joe couldn't even help himself on the 3-man list. I love it. Coach 23 monster shout out. But it is Throwback Thursday when we promised the deal. If you're at home hanging out, let's chant Let's Go Wi-Fi because we got about 8 minutes left to cover one of the best throwback topics in a long time. Paul Heyman, let's hope it holds up here. Anthony as our resident historian and head of opinions. Oh yeah, wait a minute. You're also from from Paul Heyman getting into the Hall of Fame for me and how much it means.
Well, I think the only way for me to do this would be to say, ladies and gentlemen, I am the wise man of Wrestling Republic, and I will talk about Paul Heyman's incredible career. Starting in this business as a teenager, he literally snuck into Madison Square Garden and took photos and buddied up with Vincent J. McMahon and got in there. And that's how he started his career. He showed hustle. He had a drive to get in this business and to succeed in this business. It's the same drive that myself, Clark, Shad, and the rest of us at Wrestling Republic have. We have passion for this business. And Paul showed drive to learn every aspect of this business, from taking photos to sneaking in the booking meetings with Dusty Rhodes, and Dusty Rhodes caught him, and Paul famously says, Dusty went, "What are you doing here, Paul?" Paul's like, "Well, I wanted to learn the business." And he goes, "You can't just come in here." And Paul's like, "But I want to learn from the best." And Dusty went, "Well then, take a seat," because Dusty loved that. From ECW, which is probably what Paul's most known for. On TV, they refer to him as the founder of ECW. He's not the founder of ECW. Todd Gordon was. But Paul Heyman booked ECW. He gave the opportunities to talent that WCW and WWF did not want. And he made people like the Sandman household names, the Dudleys, who would eventually go to WWF. He would make stars. He'd also give opportunity to the legends that just for another payday, maybe they needed the money. Cody Rhodes talked about it last year. He called and he remembered that Dusty helped him, and he helped Dusty and got Dusty one more payday in this business. There's a lot of negative with Paul too. People found out that ECW closed by turning on Monday Night Raw and seeing Paul Heyman take Jerry the King Lawler's spot on the announce desk. There are plenty of people that were owed money, but Paul knows how to thrive in this business and reinvent himself. As a manager with Brock Lesnar, and now as with the Bloodline, who's the MVP of the Bloodline, the facial reactions and carrying that story even when Roman's not there. A lot of people refer to Bobby Heenan as the greatest manager of all time. I am one of those people. But seeing Paul Heyman, when it's all said and done, Paul is the only guy that could probably make the argument he is better than Heenan. And Paul, honestly, in interviews, not when he's not in character, still refers to Bobby Heenan as the GOAT. But Heyman absolutely deserves his Hall of Fame induction in Philadelphia. Paul's second home, the only New Yorker that's beloved by the city of Philadelphia. So it's going to be an amazing moment to see Paul enter the Hall of Fame, which is deserving, and his career is not even over yet. My only question is, does Paul come out to the Bloodline music, or the way I think he should come out? He's got to come out to the ECW music. Has to.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you so much, Anthony, as always, too, for breaking that down. So much good insight, so much quality history. We even got in the comments, David Modge added, wow, that's cool behind the scenes info on Paul Heyman. Very interesting. And then he said Paul should get in the Hall of Fame. Yes, he should. And he's going to. And then he said CM Punk should induct him, or at least Tommy Dreamer. I've got a name for you, though. He added ECW music in agreement. I've got a name for you, though. I think it should be Stone Cold Steve Austin, because he's the only one that's seen him at every single level. Steve Austin was in the Dangerous Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
One of Paul's earliest spots. And then he was also in ECW. Then he aligned with him in the Invasion storyline. I think Steve Austin is actually the proper person to induct Paul Heyman because of the level of connection, and more than anything, I think Paul knows how many wrestlers he's impacted and been connected to. But Steve is, to me, for that brief period in the late 90s, the most over guy we've ever seen. And I think Heyman deserves it. I got to ask you, though, about your memories of Heyman. I know you're a Philly guy, Shad. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, Philly. Paul Heyman, man, to me, at least for the time being that I've been a wrestling fan, and when I got heavy into it, has always been my favorite managerial figure, commentator. He's kind of done it all the stuff that he obviously did initially with ECW. I enjoyed it, watching it as a young child, to when, we talked about initially 2001 came into WWE, which was kind of crazy to see. And then, being the manager for Brock, to being general manager and on authority figure on WWE TV, to, what we're seeing now with Roman Reigns and the arguably greatest storyline, greatest champion that people are coveting in WWE history. His fingerprints are on so many important things, and him getting an opportunity to be inducted in Philadelphia, the home of ECW, is one of the most great touches that you can do for him, man. Like he needs, first inductee, salute to Bull Nakano too, also being inducted as well. But him getting his opportunity to be the first guy announced for it, I'm excited. Who announces him? I'm not sure. I don't disagree or dislike your idea with Stone Cold. I don't dislike having the ECW talent, but we'll have to wait and see. But man, let's put respect on him. He's still 50-year-old young, and he's still killing it, man. So salute to Paul.
No question. We've got a few more comments here. We've got from Coach 23. He's one of the best. He has one of the best promos, even eclipsed some of the best promo guys. I agree. I don't know if anyone can go head to head with Heyman, even of those guys. So when you're making your list, it's hard not to put him at the top. That will bring us to the end of the show, though. Unfortunately, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We love all of the Throwback Thursday regulars. It means the world to us. We're going to have to go off air. I'm working against the clock here. Different time, same place tomorrow, noon Pacific. That's 3 on the East Coast. That's 2 in the Central. And that's 8 o'clock in the UK, 4 a.m. in Hawaii. Everyone have an excellent day. And thank you so much for tuning in.